Good morning, this is Wilkey with Major League Trading. It is 8:42 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday, September 9th, 2019. So I just want to go over a few things on the level sheet. You can peruse the rest of it yourself. But really what I want to focus on was the later this week section. So Thursday, you have possible OPEC meetings that will affect crude or possibly affect crude. Thursday, you have ECB monetary policy statement. You have CPI Thursday at 8:30 a.m. and a ECB press conference Thursday at 8 a.m. And then Thursday at 10 a.m. you have some testimony that's a little under the radar for some bank regulations from a member of the FOMC. So Thursday after the bell closes, rollover starts. So when when the session opens for Friday, Thursday night at 6 p.m., we'll be on the Z19 contract instead of the U19 contract. So this is what I'm expecting. Whatever next leg or quicker move to start, I'm expecting to start when rollover starts Thursday night, Friday morning, and we also have this. Most of the news events are on Thursday. Friday morning we have retail sales, and at 8:30, and then consumer sentiment at 10 o'clock. So really, there's not a lot going on that's scheduled before Thursday of this week. So if you look at the overnight session so far, we have 150,000 contracts that have traded in an 11.5 point range. The range for the Nasdaq has been 33.5 with 64,000 contracts basically. So there hasn't been a lot going on in this overnight session so far, and I really don't expect there to be much. So we had Great Britain GDP at 4:30 a.m. And then we have some note auctions at 11:30. At 3 o'clock, we have consumer credit. And then we have some net positions. None of these events are anything that really usually moves the market at all. So this is pretty much like no news today. So I don't really expect anything. If you play individual stocks, you have C-Trip after the bell today. You have Dave and Buster tomorrow. After the bell, you have Kroger Thursday before the bell, and AVGO Thursday after the bell. Those are really your only major earners this week, even. So, not a lot going on there. So, looking back at Friday's session, we really, after ramping up Thursday in the overnight session, we didn't take out the green dotted line, which is the overnight low, or the red dotted line, which was the overnight high. We stayed entirely in the overnight session, stayed pretty much in the value area for most of the day. I'm sorry, just slightly above it, but holding between value area high and the previous day's high. So really nothing going on bell to bell, even. It was just like a snooze fest. And if we look at the all the indexes, they all just pretty much stayed inside. If you look at the Russell, right, just stayed right inside of value. It did break the overnight low, but it didn't break value area low. The Nasdaq broke value or the overnight low, peaked below value area low, and then went back up. But these areas were narrow, so it was easy to screw with. And then there wasn't really nothing going on. So what I was telling you on Friday's trade plan for Friday, it was bearish below value area low and the point of control for the ES. And you can see that quick flash down, right back up, and once you cross above the point of control, you never lost it again the rest of the day. The same with the value area low for the Nasdaq. You pierced below it, immediately went right back up, and you never looked back again. So there was really nothing for the bears to do and very little for the bulls to take advantage of as far. It was just an inside day going nowhere, doing nothing. If you look at the initial bond study, you've got a lot of action right around the first hour's trading area, so nothing going on there. The bell-to-bell fibs, you got a little bit of buying pressure until the European close on the internals, and then they just kind of faded, right? So the internals are fading, and we're just holding up here. you get into that last hour and you just get a little bit of shake and bake for those traders that really shouldn't have still been in the market at that point in time. Very similar picture for the Nasdaq. We'll get into the charts in a second here. Bell or close to close, we're up 69 points. Open to close, up a whopping 6 points on the Dow. And you can see we had some stocks closing all over within their range for the day, right? We have a lot of red stocks closing at the lower end of the range, a lot of dark green stocks closing at the top end of the range, and quite a few in between. So nothing really going on. When you close 6 points off from where you opened at the bell, it's pretty much like the session didn't even count. So looking at the profile from Friday, you can see that it was just that nice bell curve distribution for the most part. We got, we can just rely on the value area for today on the session to see if, bullish above, bearish below, and the points of control. You can see that really for the ES, right around 29.83 and 29.79. So 79 and 83, those both of those nodes had about the same thing. So, above 83 or below 70, we'll call it 78. For the Nasdaq, it's really just above the point of control or below the point of control. Looking at the rates, we're back to almost a 10% chance that there'll be no change coming in on the September 18th meeting, which is in a week and a half from now. 90% chance that there'll be a quarter point cut, and still, by Halloween there'll be another quarter point, and then you have to go out to January to get another quarter. So looking at the overnight session so far, 11.5 points in the overnight session. Slightly bullish, right? Because we're holding up above Friday's high for the most part. The overnight low coming in right down there, and the just below the settlement, or right around the settlement. There's nothing really going on here in the overnight. Very, very narrow session. So what happens when you start narrowing out like this is you can get the, think of it this way, all the traders that have bullish positions, they're all in this area, right? So right now we're slightly above it, so they're happy, but this is a narrow range, so it wouldn't take too much to drop to under here and flush them out. I'm not saying that's what happens, but anytime you get a contraction in range and you're going sideways near recent highs, it's usually a sign that there's about to be a flush out. So I'm expecting at least a gap fill this morning or during today's session. So that's what I'll be playing for, is to at least test, a whopping 10 points lower from where we are. And I think that's about all the opportunity that you have. So looking back at all the indexes now for the overnight session, it's the Russell is very neutral, right? You got it's stuck right in the middle of value right now. Overnight low is right just below value area low, just below the settlement, above the previous day's high, and just the overnight high isn't even where we opened Friday. This solid blue line that changes when the bell rings is the opening print from the last session. So the last session opened at 1512.70 for the Russell, and we're still below that, so just shapes it around. The rest of the indexes, right, they're holding for the most part above Friday's value area high for the most of the prints recently, and either at or above Friday's high. So this is a little bit more bullish, but keep in mind this volume is thin, right? 152,700 contracts right now, and you can see we just had a few more contracts trade. There's not a whole lot of volume going off up here, so there's nothing doing. So a lot of these traders that don't look at stuff like this, it's not going to take much to get them flushed out. If they're entering new longs up here thinking we're really going somewhere today, I think they're in for some disappointment. But we will see. Once we get the market open, we can read the internals. We can see how hot or not this market really is. So let's look at to see if we have any sequences going in. So when you come in the morning, if you use this 4 grid for the internals and the auto grids, right, there's nothing going on because it's set to bell to bell. But if you turn on the extended session, you can check for sequences from the overnight session. So if we glance at it, we can see obviously since we're up near the high of the session, the bears don't have anything going on, so we can totally ignore that. We'll expand the bull check. So again, this top pane is the bull check. This lower is the bear check. You can also change time frames, and I'll just bring this up real quick on the gear. So if you go into studies and edit studies on this, if you click on the gear on the edit study, you're going to notice that you can show the extensions above or below the high or the low, depending on which draw it is. You can do the intraday on or off. So when intraday is set to no, that means it's going to go with whatever the chart's set to. And you can use an alarm that's going to tell you when the draw resets or when there's something going on. You can turn that on or off as well. So looking at this overnight session, you can see, coming out of these lows, the line in the center obviously is the halfway back. This is the 38.2. This is the 61.8. So we're holding these sequences heading up. So really, we'll be watching for a break of these sequences. So the sequence isn't going to break till 28.94 half at this point in time, and you still have 29.87 as really the next 38.2 entry with a basically 5 tick risk that you could use. Or if you want to play the whole band from 38.2 to 61.8, you're still only looking at 2.5 points of risk in here if you're buying right around this 38.2. So right now, this is targeting up into the previous run here when we take this halfway back, which we just hit right around 29.90 or 29.91, and then we'll see if we get another retracement back after that. So looking at the longer term charts, I haven't really added anything. Remember, we've got rollover this week. That's going to start Thursday after the bell. So we're just sitting here tracing. Remember, we don't really even have any news this week that's coming out that's scheduled until Thursday. So we should get a little bit of move up and down. We'll zoom into this longer term profile. This is the contract profile. But you can see that right now we're right at the middle of this node. So we can throw some levels on up here right around where this node is. But right around 29.93 quarter is a little distribution. And then these are just day trading levels. I'll change them later. To right around 3,175. So that's the next distribution. And it's only, another 7-8 points wide actually. And then after that, you can get up to the middle of the next distribution, which is 13 quarter. So let's check out the NASDAQ. We had the great check back into this area last week. We dipped a little bit below it, but really held back above it and have went up after that. So really the next place I'd look for even a pullback to is right around where we had those same pullbacks just a little bit lower. I'd say 78.29 is really what you want to be looking at for as far as for the first sign of a pullback. And again, getting below 77.88 that's going to be a little bit more bearish, right? We're going to get some retest, and hopefully this high will last. But this high has already been tested once, right? It was tested last Thursday. So on the upside, you got 79.28. And 79.71 quarter, basically. Let's check out gold and crude. So gold had this area right above 1527.20 that was holding as support. We won't even get into the 1543.60 that was, nice support resistance, or the 1535. But what you'll notice now is I think 1527.20 is possible resistance for a while. And if we crack below 1502.90, this is what needs to hold. So we're going to expand this out so we can watch it. This is the area of the chart that really needs to take hold. This is going to be from 1481.30 to 1486.90. Right in that zone is really what needs to hold. Breaking that is going to be much weaker for gold. Okay, and crude has just been range bound, right? So we talked about when it got in, it went a little bit wider than I thought, but I thought we'd be stuck between basically 53 and 57 for a good few weeks. We've been in this now for a few weeks. We could clear these lines off. I'm going to leave them on now, but we really haven't got, above 57.50, and we really haven't got any traction below this 53.45. We've had two tests in this range that have went, but nothing really doing. So we're still back up to this resistance that we can extend out as well. So that's going to come in at 57.48 to 57.64. And just seeing that that's up there, this could be like the ES. Remember, we've been watching for that ES. We finally broke above that short-term resistance. So crude could be setting up for the same thing. So we need to be aware of, if it does finally get a breakout, what are the next levels to the upside? For me, they're 58.50, 59.46, and 60.19, heading up to basically 61 in little increments. So we'll see if it can actually get a breakout this week, see what news develops. So going back and look at the overnight action and, what is our little game plan for today. Remember, we're going to watch the point of control for the NASDAQ, which is coming in, right down here at 77 or 78.71 basically. We're going to watch that, and we could, throw that out to get the exact level. Yep, 78.71. So then as we look at the ES, you really just need to watch value from 29, 77.75 to 29.82.75. That's the area that you want to watch and see if it gets ripped below or not. That's a pretty small value area. So that's going to do it today. I don't think today, if you got something else to do today might be the day to do something else. When you've got the range that we've had, 11.5 points, only 155,000 contracts, no scheduled news today. The market's pretty much doesn't even have a pulse at this moment. It's got a little bit of a gap up. I think at the most you're going to get to do is possibly play for a gap fill today. And that's worth about, 9-10 points at this point in time. I hope this helps. I'll see you guys in Discord, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.